So I do want to welcome everybody. Thank you for being on. Just as a reminder, these webinars were created um, to help farmers and agribusinesses and farm volunteer educators on how to provide the best learning experiences for schools, whether you are inviting school children to your farm, which we talked about last week, and all the things that needed to be considered before you wanted to take that on. And also, we're going to work in some tips on how to best um, navigate visiting schools or running an agriculture club or having them to your business. So, those are all things that we're going to cover. I know today we wanted to spend some time on talking to the preschoolers, which we know that preschoolers have a little more flexibility. There are not specific academic standards that need to be met. So there's a lot of free reign there, but obviously, because of the age of the children, you need to be um, more aware of maybe the language that you use, the types of activities that you present to them, how many volunteers you may need to have to assist that with that. Um, so kind of all of those considerations, how long you're going to talk, making sure there's lots of hands-on activities. So, with me presenting is Julie Hobbs. I saw Rachel on there for a minute, but she may be having connection issues. Julie is a former teacher. Well, you're still a teacher. You're always a teacher, right?
I call myself the farm librarian these days.
Well, tell everybody about your background.
So I taught for almost 20 years in two different districts. I started in elementary. I taught fourth grade while I was in the classroom, and then I became a school librarian after I got my master's. And so I was a school librarian for elementary and then also middle school for the bulk of my career, which is my favorite thing ever because as librarians, we're just sort of these keepers of knowledge. And so all the knowledge comes, and then I can disperse it out to people as they need. So I love learning all the things I've learned so far when I started working for Jennifer and about agriculture. And so that's why I call myself the farm librarian these days.
We're so glad to have you. All right. So, what I wanted to do is one, kind of remind myself, of things that you all may need to know. So, I personally do not have a teaching background. I have a communications and public relations background and an agriculture background. But since I've been in this role in you know, sharing agriculture, with our educators and how to best do that. I have found myself using our resources throughout my life in different ways. So I taught Sunday school. I taught the preschoolers, the fours and fives, for several years. Now I've moved up to the senior adults because I guess that's where I am in my life. But when I was teaching Sunday school to the fours and fives, I used so many of our resources and our activities to help, teach the Bible. And a couple that come to mind are when the demons were forced into the pigs on the beach. We made pigs with make a shapely show pig, which has a math connection. So we did that, and Rachel Wilson put that together for us. Also, the soybean seed kits are also very popular. So you talk about what a plant needs to thrive. Uh, so you can have them plant a seed and then also pair that with the story about, where the seed lands, if it's, you know,
Good
among
soil.
the soil or if it's
Yeah.
in the pebbles or among a thorny bush, you can relate that as well. But I wanted to show you all our website. Um, so if this is your first time joining us, I wanted to show you where you are going to be able to find these webinars once they're recorded, and all the past ones and all the futures coming up. So I've added them to this section on our homepage at teachkyag.org. So you can click on that. Our last webinar, which everything was working very well, is on here. So you can watch that, where we specifically talked about considerations for hosting schools on your farm or at your ag business. You can find the slideshow there. And then we'll link everything up with the new videos once they're available. Actually, I've got a post. If you go to educator workshops under programs and lessons, then you can find the link to these tips there as well. So here we are on the 24th, and we're talking about preschool once again. I probably will share a few things that I've put together real quick. Save and publish. Just so you all can see it. Okay, we still looking at the website, Julie?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. So I put a few links here. I was going to add some more. One resource I found that I thought was really good was about how important it is to have language, to introduce language as much as you can to our young people, especially those preschoolers who are learning. So I found this resource, Talk, Read, and Sing Together Every Single Day. And it gives some really great tips about how to speak to littles, get down on the child's level, how to encourage really rich conversations, tune in to their facial and body expressions to make sure that they're engaged. I don't know what your all's experiences are, but I know most of them love to talk and share, so that is
Mhm.
always good. Do you have anything that you would share about that, Julie?
So I'm thinking of a study that when I was teaching in elementary about literacy rates in kids who maybe came from a more impoverished background, and it said, do like families that are in higher levels of poverty, one of the reasons that the language or their reading is behind is because their language is behind, because a lot of times parents or caregivers are very stressed and very busy, and so they're not talking as much. So if a kid, and they gave me an example when the study gave an example of if you're driving down the road and then a kid says, "What's that?" Um, a parent who's very stressed, very busy, thinking has been working a lot, is thinking about things, might say like, "Oh, don't worry about it." A kid that lives in a little bit higher level bracket or tax bracket might say like, "Oh, that's a cow," and then move on from there. But people who live there or had a higher level of income would take that opportunity to say, "That's a cow. Oh, it looks kind of like a dog. It has four legs like your dog. What else do you see that's common?" And so just having exposure to language, um, not that we're worrying about, levels of income, but just showing the difference in how a child is spoken to at a young age and the significant impact it made on them in their language development, which then becomes their reading skills. So not shutting them down, because kids, like Jennifer said, young kids do want to talk and share a lot. And sometimes that becomes overwhelming. So when you're a teacher in a classroom that has all little kids and they all want to share, 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 sometimes you do have to shut them down because otherwise you never get anything done. But for people who are having kids come to their farms or you're coming in to do activities with them, you're just giving them more opportunities to have that discussion, and then you're talking back to them with that rich language as well. Any chance we have to do that with kids just benefits them tremendously in ways that we might not even see, but just in their language acquisition as they grow.
Yeah, I know with my own kids, I tried really hard to, when we spoke to them, to not talk to them like they were a baby or a
Yeah.
child. So, we had, more adult-like conversations, and both of them, really learned to read early and are, good communicators when they want to be.
Yeah.
For sure. So, even when we ask questions, they've got this resource here, has some suggestions on appropriate type questions, how you can, get more words out of them to really, kind of extend the conversation, uh, and, get them to kind of tell a story and to explain. So it gives some great tips there, how to kind of define words, especially in agriculture.
Yeah.
There may be a lot of words that you may be using that they do not know what you are talking about. So, pictures, being able to show them examples of what things are so, so helpful.
And always making a connection back to something that they might know. So, for example, when I said, "Oh, that's a cow," it's kind of like a dog. Well, it's not really like a dog, but a dog is something that they have a grasp of knowledge of. So you're always trying to connect back to, what they know. So say you're looking at a soybean plant. They might never seen a soybean plant, but they've probably seen like, a rose or a plant that's in a garden, something that you've seen, a more common a daisy, something that they've seen at the store. So even you just always want to link it back to something that they have experience in and then build that connection out from there.
So in addition, so this resource talked about singing every day.
Mm.
So I wanted to share this, and I'm going to say thankfully, it may still be on our Facebook page, but I recorded myself singing and dancing, acting out this song in front of a bunch of students. So this version of Old MacDonald, I think would be a great thing to do with your really young students. But I will tell you, it takes some training. It takes some physical training to be able to get through this. Um, so we all know Old MacDonald, and instead of the sounds that the animals make, which would completely be appropriate for your preschoolers because they already know, most of them hopefully know the words to that song. But we have a version where we talk about the jobs of a farmer. And each job has kind of an acted out movement for how we would go about that. And then of course, similar to the regular old MacDonald song, we repeat them all after we add a new one.
Yep.
Uh, so here are the instructions that you can have a link to. We talk about planting the seed. And so, we'll bend down and pretend like we're putting a seed in the ground. And then every time you say planting seed, you're going to do that. So I will give you a quick version of the old McDonald. And you can clap. The rhythm and the percussion is super important. And of course, you can't see me. Ha ha ha. But old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm we planted a seed. E-I-E-I-O. We plant a seed here and we plant a seed there. Here a seed, there a seed. Everywhere we're planting seeds. So every time we say planting seed or sing planting seed, we're bending down and pretending to put a seed in the ground.
So it's a good workout.
Yes. And then there's several actions. So we get up to 8. Pulling weeds, we pretend we're bending over and pretending like we're pulling something out of the ground. Feed pigs. You can decide how to do that. I fed horses when I was a kid, and even still now. So
Put your hand out.
you had to scoop it up, and pour it out. Of course, everybody knows the what to do for milking cows. Picking apples, you're reaching up high over your head and pretending to pull an apple off a tree. Driving a tractor, pretending you got a wheel, a steering wheel in your hand. The scoop the poop always gets a lot of laughs. They like that. So it's similar to the feeding the pigs, but this, when you're scooping the poop, you're actually pitching it over your shoulder. And then the last one, if anybody has ever had goats, they know that they get out. They just always find a way to escape. So the last one, we're chasing a goat. So we're running in place. But it's like every time we add a new job, we're repeating all the old jobs. So that's a great way for them to remember.
Yeah.
And in a spirit of diversity, uh, we also have a young Miss Daisy farmer. So you are absolutely welcome to change up, between old MacDonald and young Miss Daisy, because everybody can be a farmer.
Yes.
So you can do that as well. But again, it takes some training. I remember the very first time that I did this with a class, and of course, I practiced a little bit, but I really hadn't gone through the entire song as it should be. And I really got winded. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to prepare next time. But it was a lot of fun. That would be a great one if you have young people that are assisting you. Absolutely say this is your job to take them through this song. So that is just kind of one example that I wanted to share that is just an easy activity that you can do with them. On our last call, we had Amanda Gadzik, and she farms at Mulberry Orchard. She runs that in Shelbyville. And when she has her primary students, so you know, preschool up through, second or third grade, when she has the smaller kids come to her farm, she reads to them. They read a book, and they run an apple orchard, so they will find a book that goes along with their apples. So I wanted to share this resource. We have a few of these books available to our members at a discounted price, or you can go here and find all the books. But it's the American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture. And I do have the link that you all will be able to access. But all of these books have been approved by a committee of educators, one, to make sure that they're a good book, but also that they are accurately telling the story of agriculture. So you can provide, put in some parameters for filters. So if you click on this filter button here, you can look up by what they, call a learning pillar. So you can have some guidelines there. Animals would probably be a common one for our younger students, but then you can pick the grade level. So I'm going to pick pre-K through 3. So that already whittled down some of the choices. So these could be some good recommendations for books you may want to read to them in the classroom or on the farm. Some of them have, Spanish versions, which we have had a lot of, requests for that, those resources here in the last couple years. But it gives you a lot of options.
A lot of times too, if you take a title and look it up on YouTube, you will find that somebody has already done a read aloud of a book or maybe one that's very similar. So if that's not something that you feel comfortable, if you're not a read aloud type of person, a lot of times you will find that others have already done that and then you can just show them the video of it.
Yeah. Then you could also further do a search and say, hey, I want one about pumpkins. So it's going to bring up, all the pumpkin books. And most of these are linked to Amazon. So once you click on them, you'll find the link to Amazon where you can actually purchase the book. Or you could visit your local library and check them out. Actually, a few of our favorites have popped up here as featured. So the Soil in Jackie's Garden is one that we just added to our library to provide for our volunteers. And I know, Julie, you've actually gone through this one.
Yeah, that one's really fun because it's very much like there was an old lady who swallowed a fly, and how you keep building on. It swallowed the cat and swallowed the bird and swallowed the. It does the same thing with this, and it always goes back to the soil in Jackie's garden. And then the worms squirm, so there's movement there, and then it goes all the way through to the very end. And what I like about it is it doesn't stop at once the plant is grown like they do, I think it's watermelons, and so it doesn't stop once they like pick the watermelon and it's over. It moves past that and talks about like the composting that you can do with the rinds and whatnot that's left over, which goes back to making the soil strong in the garden. And then you can also use this one with older kids because besides just the regular verse on each page, there's also a lot of like good deeper detail, so it gives you higher level like vocabulary. It's there's a lot of good like diagrams. So with the younger kids, you can kind of just stick to the verse, and then if you go with older kids, you can get more into the details and the higher level vocabulary. So it's really fun. I've done this one with several classes, and they really like it.
Yeah, and it's super
Yeah.
cute book. One that was brought to my attention actually the other day was this Barn at Night. So we'll talk next week about specific standards for the different grades. Again, just a reminder, preschool doesn't really have academic standards that they need
Their
to
standards are
follow.
more like benchmark of like um, can focus on an activity, can, um, hang on, let me see. I have a couple. Persists at a challenging task, uses creative approaching, uses imagination and play. So like it's much easier to kind of expand with, how you want to teach those than having to be so set and stuck in a particular curriculum standard.
But you could absolutely work with the teacher
Yeah.
and ask, say, hey, what are some things that you're already doing, right now? Is there certain themes that, you've talked about that would be helpful for me to know
Yeah.
when I kind of, talk about it on an agriculture standpoint? So think about like life cycles of animals, which I know is a very common theme to teach young students. So they may have talked about, pet animals or animals that you see at the zoo and not really talked about, farm animals.
Hmm.
So that could be, something that you could bring. And of course, if they're on a farm, please, 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 please give them the opportunity to touch the animals. I think Julie, was it you that had mentioned last time? It's like if you have animals and t tell them that they can't touch, that is just
you've been better off to never even go to that farm. If you stick an animal in front of them and say, "Look, but don't touch," because their hearts they're gonna just be broken and they're gonna be thinking about it all the time, the whole time. Why they didn't get to do it.
Yeah. Well, this barn at night is about, putting the barn up, to keep everybody cozy and warm. If you get on Facebook, this is something that you could do, or if you have your own farm, take pictures of what's going on right now with this weather and how that impacts what you do. Talk about, you know, kids and people that do not have animals to take care of, especially, it's like they take that for granted. Our farmers have had to go and break water, all of the watering troughs or the ponds,
The
the
first time
ice has
somebody
to be
told me
broken.
they had about bringing a calf into their house and putting it in the bathtub, I was an adult when I heard that, and it blew my mind. So you can imagine kids, if you're telling them you're bringing a baby cow inside the house and had to keep it warm in the bathtub, or however you're doing that, those types of things, they'll get a big kick out of that.
Yeah, farmers like to plan, so they know how long the gestation period is of different animals, but sometimes they don't always cooperate. So, there were babies being born, when in the middle of the ice storm outside, so they had to go find them and keep them warm, and so definitely some challenges there, but anything that's you know to do with the natural world, what living things need, how they survive, how they
A
grow
lot of
up, what they look like. All of that is
a
important
lot
and
of
appropriate.
preschool or pre-K focuses on um, how to take care of yourself. So, like keeping yourself clean, changing clothes, those types of things. So, if you can relate that, like, if this is how we care for ourselves, this is how farmers care for their animals. That would be a really good crossover for that.
Well, even though we're going to dive deeper into this next week, these kindergarten lessons, obviously this would be a good place to start for age level appropriate activities and for the preschoolers. And I've got things kind of broken down by science, career, social studies, English and language arts, and then math. So the science probably makes the most sense for the preschoolers. So we have linked up all of the lessons and activities that could, be appropriate for this younger student audience. Of course, we talked about, earlier sprouting the soybean. That has been a very popular activity. And you can request that right now, thanks to the Kentucky Soybean Board. You can get the supplies that you need for this activity. You could even have them put their seed in a little bit of soil in a cup as well, instead of using the greenhouse. Because I know they would, if they wear it around their neck, the littles are more likely, going to want to play with it and touch it and squish it. And that may not fare well for the seed. So you could actually, have them planted in a cup or use the little clear plastic bag and tape them up on the window so they're not touching them. Or just, give them the instructions. Say, please, please try not to touch it and squish it, or it may not survive.
Why is there a hole in your bag all of a sudden?
Yeah. But all of the things that you will need will be in the kit. This is what it looks like once it germinates. After, I think this is about a week and a half or 2 weeks. Sometimes if I forget that I've put one together and I stick it in my purse, I'll go back a week later. It's like, oh, I forgot about that. But there's this really cool video of a time lapse of it. so you can know what to expect. So you could even show them that and tell them if they leave it alone that theirs will do the same.
I think Laura Highball, she's one of our educators that actually does an ag special area class in elementary, and she does these. She said she tells them if they tuck it inside their shirt and keep it close to their body warmth, that if she has them early in the day, by the time they start to go home, it'll start to be you can see things happening. So it's a very quick process.
Yeah, when we have shared done this at teacher workshops, in the right conditions, usually within a few hours, the seed has already swollen and you can see where the root is going to pop out. It is already kind of pushing through a little bit. So that's exciting for them to see those things that quickly.
Yeah.
Seeds are always, there's lots of seed resources. We have a whole nother website called Kentucky Ready Set Grow, with a lot of lessons that are more plant-based, garden-based. Uh, so this is, just talking about seeds, how they move. There's a lot of different activities. You could take them or show them the seeds within different fruits or plants or the flowers, so they can kind of see the anatomy. You can bring out some magnifying glasses so they can
Even if
see
you just
those.
brought them like a variety of seeds and have them sort, do some counting, simple things, but just getting them used to seeing what they look like and then talking a little bit about the plant, but sorting and kind of categorizing things is a really important skill that they're working on at that age. So even just having different types of seeds available for them to look at, sort, and talk about, count, maybe start to count because they're working on those lower level numbers. But doing that instead of just counting like bingo chips, they're looking at seeds. They're looking at something that's going to be something, a plant one day, something they can eat or use.
Yeah, this seed or not a seed does exactly that, where you take in things in addition to seeds,
Mhm.
and they have to decide which one is a seed.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then there's a little sorting sheet that goes along with it so they can, put them on one side or the other.
As long as we tell them at the beginning, nothing goes in your mouth. We're not putting anything in our mouth today.
Right.
No, don't put that fish gravel in your mouth.
Yeah. And of course, the what's inside the seed, of course, some seeds you may already have in your house. You may have beans. I know I keep celery seed in my spice cabinet. So you may have access to those already. Next time you eat a peach or an apple, you can save those so they can see them as well. So kind of low cost activities. Of course, our virtual field trips are an easy thing to do. Now, I would suggest these, if you're visiting the classroom. Obviously, if you're at a farm, you won't need these, but you can kind of get some ideas of things that you may want to talk to the kids about. So we have lesson plans for different grades. You can request our coloring um, passport for your students. I need to update this because we have a new version of this now. I need to update this link.
Has a nice map in the middle.
Yeah, add that to our list, Julie.
Okay.
Our to-do
Update,
list.
update the link.
But you can request those. You can learn about agriculture in your community. And then here are all the field trip videos. And they're short. So that's just another reminder. So these videos are all less than 5 minutes. Keep that in mind when you're working with young students, how long that you can actually talk to them and not do. What's the rule of thumb, Julie?
It used to be like whatever their age was plus two, and that was how many minutes. So like that, with preschools, I'd say 5 to 7 minutes, and then you need to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, that's probably just the activity as a whole. I
Yeah.
think somebody shared if
If yeah,
if it
if
was a
they're doing
video.
something, you can kind of, but if it's just like talking or just if it gets you gotta go.
Yeah. I think somebody said if it was a video, it's like their age divided by, divided
Yeah.
in half is about the attention span. So hatching eggs, little chickens is probably a perfect thing to share with the preschoolers. Um, those could be hatched if you have them on your farm, they can touch and feel. Maybe give them, very specific instructions that we're going to touch them with like two fingers, and you're just going to, run it over the top of their head or down their back. This is where it helps to have lots of volunteers that can kind of watch what's going on. I definitely wouldn't hand them a chicken.
Yeah. The good thing with preschool and pre-K is their numbers for like being supervised are different. So you're already going to have more adults in a classroom with pre-K than you would with regular like K and above. So that's always a good thing. And then if you know ahead of time, the teachers know, then they can also have volunteers come in. If you don't have people that are coming with you or you don't have volunteers on your farm, the teachers can bring more and have more people. So but usually you will already have a higher number of adults than you would with the older grades. So that's kind of a plus.
Yeah. This garden ecosystem. So this is something that could easily be done on a farm. Is when you're on the farm, talk about all the things that are needed to grow our food. Um, talk about the living things, the non-living things, the sun, the soil, the water, good animals and bad animals. So obviously we want the food animals, but there are animals that are pests, insects that impact the way that, we grow our food. So that would be really good to talk about. And then there's this little treasure hunt. Can they find these things? I think this would be a perfect little activity for a farm um, for a farm field trip for the littles. So those could be printed off from our website.
I think
And then I
those
also wanted
things.
to show you, in addition to looking things up by age level. So we have all those linked here on our curriculum page, but then you can look things up by theme. So the pig, make a shapely show pig can be found on the pig page. So those are something that you can request right now as well, as long as we have, the supply until our supply runs out. But you can print the shapes out. They can cut them, of course. Preschool. I'm not sure. Are they doing much cutting in preschool?
Are working on it. Yeah, they are working on it, supervised. But yeah, they really want them to have those skills before they come into kindergarten, and most don't. So they will work on those things.
Of
Coloring, cutting.
course, we have one volunteer that works for one of the county farm bureaus that she pre-cuts all the shapes.
She told me
And then she distributes them.
recently she has gotten her FFA clubs to pre-cut the shapes for her, so she didn't have to do it anymore because those kids like to help. So that can always be if you have any like 4-H or older kids, have them cut that out for you, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. You can give the littles instructions on how to put the pig together, or, they may be able to, make a pig on their own. That might be a little harder for the
It
little.
won't look like a pig, but they'll be
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah. So by theme, another very popular activity that I see with really young um, students is making butter in the classroom. I need to make sure I have a good lesson on that. I know it's something that you can Google easily, but take in some cream, have them shake it up, and they can take turns
About that because
shaking.
they definitely do the ice cream in a bag with the rock salt. A lot of schools will do that one, and that's fun. They really love that one. But I didn't think about the butter.
Yeah, I think when you do the ice cream, there's a real chemistry lesson there
Yeah.
because you add this salt and there's changing the states of matter, but the butter is a lot easier to handle
Mhm.
with the littles.
They also don't have to worry about poking a hole in their bag and then the salt runs in and they're like, why does
Yeah,
my ice cream taste salty?
yeah.
Because you shook it like
And of course, this mobile dairy classroom, that would be a good example. So if they're visiting a dairy farm, let them see the milking process. Cheney's Dairy Barn. There's more than just Cheney's that have a robotic milker now, but you know that is a great example that they can see the technology involved, and they have a viewing window that the kids
yeah.
can sit behind and watch. In no matter what the weather is, they can experience that and see how that works.
Any
Us.
of the tools or the equipment that is being used, especially for like specialty things. So like if you have a farrier that can show like this does this to a horse's hoof and then you nail it on and this they're very interested in any type of what tools are needed to make things happen. So seeing how the milk machine works, anything like that is good.
I did want to remind everyone of where you can find places to visit. So if you're a teacher watching this and you say, "Hey, I want to go to a farm," or if you're a farm and say, "Hey, I need to reach out to more schools," we have this map available. It's a Google map, and you can blow it up to your area. You can, filter out some of the little pinpoints on it, but say, "Hey, I want to find where I can go to a farm for a field trip or visit an educational venue that has an agriculture connection." Say we're in the Louisville area, we're adding these on a regular basis. So I'm going to click on this one right here. So Sunny Acres Farm, they have a website. Uh, I know they put on a great program for the schools. Black Acre State Nature Preserve and Historic Homestead, also a great place for farm field trips. Lots of hands-on activities, lots of things to see. And then the State Fair in August is also a wonderful place for agriculture learning. All kinds of fun things to do in ag land, and they have all the animals in the petting zoo area as well. So check out that map. Either sign up to be on it, or take a look at all the places that you can go. Here's the Shelbyville area. Lots of farms there.
And if you can't go, still contact them because they might be able to come to you, um, to do some activities and things.
Yes.
And same for farms. If you're not willing to have groups come to you because of liability issues and stuff, but you still want to be involved, we can put you on there as somebody who will go to schools or go to events at schools and things like that.
Yeah, we're beginning to add all of our county resources to our county pages, just to help people find those folks. So all of that is on our website. We have a lot of resources. Um, poster and essay contest. That's not available for preschool, but we just encourage you to just look around. And a reminder, if you have trouble finding something, please do not hesitate to contact us. We'll know about what resources that we can send out free of charge, how the membership works, teachers that attend workshops can become a member of our Ag Literacy Network to receive all the discounts and a lot of the free items. But if you just look around our main website here, a lot of it is accessible from our main website. Well, I really do appreciate you all being here and wanting to learn more about all the different programs and lessons and activities that we have that can help teach young people about agriculture. Of course, we need to connect with the adults as well. Um, just know that there are so many programs out there, people that you can connect with. Uh, I think all of us within agriculture and education, we want everybody to succeed and do well. So there are so many folks that have a knowledge base that can help put you in the right direction. Julie, real quick, I know some of our attendees, may work for a local county organization. What tips do you have for connecting with the schools and getting in there, if that's something you really want to do?
So you might start with the just calling the school board and asking if they have like a designated person who works with field trips or things like that. They may have somebody that can handle getting that message out to all the schools at once. If not, I would say one good way, if you wanted to just go to the school level, a good person to contact would be to talk to the counselors because they plan a lot of your career days and are always looking to have, different careers represented. And so they would be a good person to get into the school with. And then the other person, different schools have them and don't, but any sort of like instructional or curriculum coach because they can really get you hooked up with here's the things that you want to do and this is the grade level that would really work well with depending on what their standards are. And then I always say contact your librarians because even if it's just a matter of wanting to get more resources into a building, your librarian is a good place to start because we sort of keep all the resources and disseminate those out to teachers. So that would be my I wouldn't go straight to the principal because they are doing a lot of other management type things, keeping the building running, that you might get, not that they wouldn't be open to, but you might get pushed down their list of to-do things. So I would go more towards your counselors, your curriculum coaches, a librarian, and like I said, you may try at the district level first to see if there's a district person. Because even maybe like some of your nutrition coordinators, that might be something that falls under them. Because I know they try to get like, food and nutrition lessons and stuff into schools. But that would kind of be where I would start.
What about the family resource
Your family
person?
resource are good. That would be a good resource. I wasn't thinking about that, but that would also, a lot of times they don't do like school-wide programming, but they do kind of have their pulse on what's going on in the building. And they're involved with a lot of things. So even if that they would get you to the person that you need. But yeah, any school outside to inside your school family resource or youth service center, I think is what they're called in the older grades. They're a good link between just the school and the general public for lots of things. So yeah, that would also work.
Awesome. Well, anybody that's on, feel free to send us an email if you have any additional questions. I can be reached at jennifer@teachkyag.org. Julie can be reached at julie@teachky.org. So thank you for joining today, and until next time.